Coming up, yoga teachers unite in New York. We'll meet one of them in just a few moments. Activate Live starts now.
Activate your voice. Activa tu voz. Activate it now.
Speak up. Speak out.
Get involved. Get involved.
Engage-toi.
Take action.
Aktiviere deine Stimme.
We're union and we're proud.
Welcome to Activate Live. I'm Tanya Hutchins, coming to you from Machinists Union headquarters in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. We'll get to unionizing yoga in a moment, but first, the IAM's endorsement election is now underway. It began at 8 a.m. Eastern Time and will end Friday at 8 a.m., giving members 48 hours to vote. Check your email to make sure you received your online ballot. The email came from invitations@mail.electionbuddy.com. An announcement will come Sunday evening, so keep an eye on your inbox. You will receive an email announcing the IAM-endorsed 2020 U.S. presidential candidate on Sunday evening, March 8th. Well, it's been 1 week since the horrific tragedy that took place at the Molson Coors Beverage Company in Milwaukee. The Machinists Union issued a statement. We want to express our deepest condolences to the victims' families, the members of IAM Local 66 and 510, and all our union sisters and brothers affected by this senseless act of violence. We remember IAM member Dana Walk of Local 66, who was a member for nearly 16 years. As you can see from this photo, he was an avid fisherman. Crowdfunding campaigns have been set up for the victims' families. Well, it's our first show during Women's History Month, a time to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of women. This coming Sunday is International Women's Day, which will be celebrated all over the world. The theme this year is Each for Equal. Today, we honor Josette Jaramillo, president of the Colorado AFL-CIO. She's the first LGBTQ person and the first Latina to hold that position. Josette remains a rank-and-file member of her local and uses her vacation leave to attend council meetings and events during the workday. Josette has personally registered thousands of Colorado voters in her personal time. We salute Josette Jaramillo. Well, today is opening day at the 9th Annual Black Women's Roundtable Women of Power National Summit in Virginia. The organization is releasing its 2020 report on the state of black women in the United States, and will have a public policy, education, and action day tomorrow. The intergenerational event provides leadership development, empowerment, and mentoring for women and girls. Last year, teachers and teacher trainers at Yoga Works New York joined together to form the first yoga union in the United States. They hit social media in September, started voting in October, and announced that the vote had passed in November. To tell us how the organizing campaign came about and where things stand now is Unionize yoga organizer Liz Buehler-Walker. Liz, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Tanya. So good to talk to you.
Well, first tell us, how did you get into teaching yoga and what is your specialty?
So a long time ago, I was a dancer and a modern dancer, and I got injured. And one of my good friends, his sister, was a yoga teacher. And back then, there were only a few yoga studios here in New York. And I went to her classes to rehab my back injury. And that is how I fell in love with yoga. And so I just kept doing more and more as I continued to dance. And then eventually I became a yoga teacher and transitioned over into teaching yoga full time.
Now, for people who don't practice yoga, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Yoga is a holistic system for mind and body wellness. So you use movement and breathing practices in order to feel good in your body, in order to focus your mind, and in order to have a relationship with reality and be able to respond rather than reacting to all kinds of life situations.
Now, I would assume that anyone would want to have wellness even on the job. How did this particular organizing campaign begin?
A few months ago, last summer actually, I was approached by several of my fellow yoga teachers at Yoga Works, and they had been starting conversations with each other and starting conversations with the management at Yoga Works about just some things that they wanted to see improvement on. So some of the facilities and getting things maintained properly, and also they had been having discussions amongst the yoga teachers about things like salary and working conditions and what it was like to be a yoga teacher. And this spread. And so they contacted me last summer and were asking me some of the same questions. And we were starting to strategize about how we could make things better for ourselves, how we could make things better for future yoga teachers coming up behind us. And many of us had already been yoga teachers for many, many years and had tried a number of different things in order to get more transparency, more fairness, more equity in the profession. And nothing had really stuck so far. And so that's when the idea of forming a union came about.
Now, you mentioned equity. What are some of the other issues that came up?
So some of the biggest issues were about pay transparency and transparency about how classes are allocated to different teachers, how people are hired for jobs, what happens in order for you to have job security, to not have classes taken away from you, that kind of thing. Also, just what is the issue with diversity in yoga? So there are people being left out of this conversation, people being left out of the ability to have a career as a yoga teacher in terms of financial accessibility, being able to make a living wage and have it be sustainable, in terms of racial equity, in terms of ability equity. And so these are just some of the conversations that we started to have and some of the things that we're hoping to make a difference with now that we have a seat at the table with our union.
Now, you mentioned diversity. Tell us a little bit about how diverse this bargaining unit is.
I would say that our bargaining unit is pretty representative of the yoga world at large in the United States for most yoga studios. So we're largely a female bargaining unit. We do come from all different kinds of backgrounds and we teach various styles of yoga. It is a largely white bargaining unit. It's about 10% people of color, which is interesting because yoga is actually a practice that comes from India and South Asia. So it has changed as it came over to the West, and we're trying to course correct and open it back up to not be so dominated by particular types of people. So we want it to be open to people of all different sizes, people of all different races and ethnicities, people of all different financial means and capabilities, and people of all different gender expressions. So these are some of the things that we're hoping to open up and shine a light on with our efforts with organizing.
To give us an idea of what yoga instructors go through, what is it like a day in the life of a yoga teacher?
Well, it's a lot of time spent going from place to place, and it's a lot of time spent on your own in between teaching your classes. So you have relationships with your students, you have lots of great people that you come into contact with in the framework of your classes. But in terms of being a yoga teacher, you don't get to hang out with other yoga teachers that often. So that was actually one of the challenges for us in organizing for Unionize Yoga, is that it's not like all of the yoga teachers at Yoga Works are there at one time. We kind of pass each other in between teaching our classes, or maybe we pop in and take a class from each other here and there, but there aren't large group gatherings. So it can be quite isolating. So you're running around a lot. You're doing your best to get rest and stay healthy. You're working a lot on nights and weekends when people who work, for instance, a 9-to-5 job have time to come do their yoga practice. And then you're really kind of doing it on your own. So that was why having conversations with each other about salary, about what it was like to be a yoga teacher, formed solidarity amongst all of us as we started to talk about what some solutions to these problems could be. So that's probably one of the best things to come out of our organizing efforts is the community that we've been building, not just with yoga teachers, but now that we're unionizing, we have this whole larger community of workers that we're now a part of. So it's been really cool to see some of those things come about. We're looking forward to more of that.
So it sounds like you're really feeling support from your colleagues, and it's like you have this newfound family.
When we came public in September on social media, there was this outpouring of, oh my gosh, this is happening. Similar to when we started to have conversations with each other one-on-one about what it was like for us as workers and yoga teachers. So there was a big curiosity and a lot of interest in how this is going to shape the future for yoga teachers. We did have to kind of scale back a little bit and be clear about this particular bargaining unit is for yoga works teachers in New York City. And hopefully it will spur conversation and organizing for other yoga teachers around the country to do their own organizing efforts and join us. And at least it should set a precedent and some standards that will be helpful for people. So it has been really nice to feel the greater yoga community come together behind us and in support of us. And hopefully then that bleeds out and supports other communities within the yoga community as well.
What has it been like for you? I saw some of your colleagues just now, just living their daily lives. What has it been like for you to see support grow all over the country?
You know, it's been really affirming because sometimes you think you're crazy. Sometimes you think maybe it's something I'm doing, that I'm still struggling, that I'm still making similar to what I made 20 years ago, that I don't really know what it's like for other people, that we can't seem to make these openings happen for more equity and diversity. And so it has been affirming, it has been joyful, it has been interesting and fascinating to hear other people's stories and where our stories connect and intersect. And really, it's been exciting. It feels good to have a collective voice finally on this.
What really stood out to me was what you said at the very beginning, that, talking about what it's like to make what you made 20 years ago. I mean, if you think about that, 20 years ago, that's the year 2000. So I don't think this is unique just to this industry. I even hear people in other industries saying the same thing. And I think a lot of people just don't realize how little a lot of yoga teachers make. Are you hearing that from the general public?
It's true. There is this image of a yoga teacher that is above it all, right? Above having to put food on the table, having to have health insurance and benefits, having to take care of our children and be home with them when they're sick, or take care of ourselves when we're sick. So there are so many issues that do span across our workplace that are similar to other workplaces. So yeah, it's been really nice in one sense to hear that it is happening across the board, and really not nice in another sense to think that, we've sort of been stagnated in the same way that so many other industries have been stagnated. And luckily now we have a chance to really do something about it and get a good contract.
Speaking of a good contract, what's the status now?
So we've started our bargaining, our collective bargaining. We've had one session, so it's hard to tell how things are going to go so far, but we're very hopeful, and we're looking forward to, once we presented our proposal to the company, we're looking forward to hearing what they have to come back with. And we meet with them next week. So that's when we have our next bargaining session. But it has felt really good to actually be able to sit down with the backing of the union, have the training, have the legal, have the economic information that we need in order to move forward and step into our power.
If people would like more information, how can they get that?
We are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Unionize Yoga. And if anyone has questions or wants to say hi, you can email us at unionizeyoga@gmail.com.
You hear that? unionizeyoga@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining us, Liz. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tanya. Have a great day.
And good luck next week.
Thank you.
So what do you think about the first yoga teacher union in the United States? Activate your voice right here on this video, no matter which platform you're watching or when you're watching. We want to hear from you. Well, our next guest is here to help separate fact from fiction and give us some tips on how workers can protect themselves from the coronavirus. To tell us how we're keeping our members safe is IAM Safety and Health Department Project Coordinator Michael Oathout. Thanks for being here, Michael.
Hey, good afternoon, Tanya. Yes, it's great to be back in the studio, and unfortunately, this is a stressful time for a lot of people, a lot of our members in the transportation industry, healthcare, people around the general public. So,
what do you want our members to know first and foremost?
well, we want them to know that we care about everybody's personal safety. We care about their, we want them to be safe. We want their families to be safe. And that's why we're putting out a lot of awareness. We put out a lot of articles on our website, goiam.org. The iMail, hopefully everybody signed up for the iMail.
Yep, twice a week,
Yes,
iMail
we just
to your
had a
inbox.
great article yesterday with a lot of good tips for our members and their families. So encourage everybody to check that out.
So speaking of tips, one of the things that we like to remind people are the symptoms. What are the symptoms of coronavirus?
Okay, well, there's a number of symptoms, and fever, but it's very high fever. That's really one of the things to look at. The cough, the shortness of breath, the runny nose. A lot of similar symptoms of the regular flu, but the very high fever is one of the big indicators, and people should seek medical attention if they start to experience some of these symptoms.
So not a 100 or a 101 fever. It has to be high.
Very high, yeah. So, and the symptoms could take up to a couple days to 14 days after the exposure.
Wow.
For them to appear.
That's good to know. What are some of the precautions that we can take as workers?
The big thing is we want everybody to wash your hands frequently. And not just a quick, hurry up, wash your hands.
Not just rinse, use soap.
Rinse, use soap, scrub them, scrub under your nails. Really take the time to do a good job on it. Cover your mouth when you're coughing and sneezing. You're sneezing if you don't have a tissue, sneeze into your sleeve, we recommend.
I finally trained myself to do that.
Good.
It takes habit.
Good.
Yeah.
And the other big thing, avoid touching your face. Everybody's, touching their face.
Like I'm tearing right now, and I keep putting.
And it's, that's going to bring exposure. So the other thing too, I was reading a great article. Everybody's cell phones. The cell phones are so dirty, and there's so many germs. So cleaning your cell phones is a great idea as well, especially since you have it up in your face. Everybody sleeps with their phone, and they take it to the bathroom and all that. So every manufacturer has different recommendations on how to clean their phone, depending upon the material. So definitely recommend looking into that.
And how important is it, because I'm a stickler about this, about staying home when you're sick?
Yes, absolutely. Stay home when you're sick. I know there's some language with some different bills that are out there. They're trying to focus on what to do if, is this going to be covered under FMLA, is, the sick policies. So there's a lot going on. We're working with the AFL-CIO.
That's good to know, because not everybody has paid leave.
Exactly. Everybody, and then some members that do have paid leave, the attendance policies are very, very strict. In transportation, if you use your sick time, you're in trouble. So that's one of the things that people are afraid of. The other thing is there's some, they're working on, the AFL is working on grant money. NIH has a grant. There are different grants for worker training on infectious disease. So we're working to be involved with that. We're in collaboration on some of those things. So hopefully we'll have some more funds available to do some additional training for our members.
Okay, you have some props over there.
Oh yeah, there's.
And I'm famous for having these in my office.
A couple things. I mean, the hand sanitizer. We're starting to see this. A lot of businesses are putting the hand sanitizers out. The Clorox wipes. wipe everything down, use the hand sanitizer in addition to washing your hands. So
I'm going to use it right now. Like, seriously,
that's
I am.
good,
I've been
good.
touching everything in the
Okay.
studio, so.
Yes, and that's the thing. That's where everybody's, coughing on their hands or touching everything, traveling, wipe things down.
Because of what you said, I'm about to wipe
Yeah,
down my
wipe
phone
down your
in a
phone.
minute.
Absolutely. It's a great thing. Just disinfecting objects that we frequently touch. I mean, that's one of the things. If we can do that to keep the bacteria and the germs at bay, that's good. I was speaking with an app developer too. They're working on some different things with building awareness, and they're collaborating with a healthcare group in a hospital. So there'll be some different things coming out like that. I'll be happy to share that on Twitter. Some of those valuable resources.
And you are at IAMAW Mike, right, on
Correct.
Twitter?
Correct.
And you also have IAMAW Crest.
Correct. Yep. So we put out, we'll put out information. We'll share different things from CDC, from OSHA.
That's what I was about to ask you. What resources are out there
So
if people want more info?
So there's a lot of information. There's a lot of hype. There's, some different things, but following some of the guidelines from the CDC. I know there's some different information going on there about masks. CDC right now are telling people they don't need to use a mask unless you're sick. So, or if you're around sick people, you're working in healthcare, you're working in transportation, you may want to use a mask. Different employers have different policies right now. I know there's a lot going back and forth about, transportation folks, if they're wearing masks, if they're wearing proper PPE. If the employer is providing it, I would definitely wear it. Personal protective equipment. So that's.
Thank you for reminding us what
yes,
that stood
yes,
for.
Okay.
Great.
Again, we want our members to be safe. We want, to build awareness. If you're, like you said, if you're sick, stay home. If you're really sick, don't expose your union brothers and sisters, your coworkers, the public to, anything that could be prevented.
And that could be for any illness, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so
Great.
much for stopping by.
Okay.
Anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I think that's it. I appreciate the time, coming and back on the show, and we always have a lot of great information. That the Health and Safety Department, we're here for our members. If anybody needs anything, they're welcome to contact us. They, on the site, we have our information, our phone number.
That's right. It's goiam.org, and you can click on departments and then safety and health.
Safety and Health and IAM Crest. We're here for our members, but we want to build awareness, and we want everybody to be safe.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, I appreciate you stopping by to keep us up to date.
All right.
That was Michael Oathout from the IAM Safety and Health Department. Well, you too can join the conversation right here on this video. What is your workplace doing to protect your health? We love to hear what our viewers think, so make your voice heard loud and clear, even if you're watching our replay. Well, here's a look back at this week in labor history. On March 1st, 1936, the Hoover Dam was completed and turned over to the U.S. government. It took 21,000 workers 5 years to build the dam. 112 of them died on the job. And on March 4th, 1913, President William Howard Taft signed legislation creating an executive-level Department of Labor. It was the last day of his presidency. After taking office, President Woodrow Wilson appointed Congressman William B. Wilson the first Secretary of Labor. He had been Secretary-Treasurer of the United Mine Workers. That information comes to us from Sandelli Grace. And I just found out today that March 4th, I think it was 1933, Frances Perkins was the first woman cabinet member when she became Secretary of Labor. So I just threw that in for you as well. Well, if you're a member of the IAM, one of the benefits of your union membership is the ability to take classes at the Wimpisinger Education and Technology Center in Maryland. Here are some deadlines for you to keep in mind. If you want to take intermediate web development, the registrations are due March 6th. March 23rd is the deadline for the Financial Officers Program. April 6th, get your applications in by them for Retirees Assistance Program. If you'd like to take basic communicators, the registration is due April 10th, and April 13th is the deadline for the Women's Advanced Program. All of the information is on the website, wimpisinger.iamaw.org. So register for those classes. Here's a list of our upcoming state council meetings. Massachusetts State Council meets March 21st in Dorchester. The Arizona State Council meets March 28th in Tucson. And Kentucky State Council meets in Louisville, March 28th to the 29th. Missouri State Council meets in Jefferson City, March 29th to April 1st. IAM Communications Representative Delane Adams will host this show next week when I'll give you a live report from CLU's Leadership Skills Conference in Atlanta. That's the Coalition of Labor Union Women. Support your union siblings. Spread the word about this video to your local or district page. And thanks to all of you who already do. Michael and I are saying goodbye. We'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you.